What if I told you burnout isn't something you fix overnight, but something you slowly outgrow? Like one day you just wake up and realize you're calmer, more present, and life doesn't feel so heavy anymore. If that sounds far away from where you are right now, you're not alone. So many high performers are stuck in the grind, wondering if even possible to feel different. Welcome back to the Higher Alignment Podcast. I'm Minty Lam, and I help high achievers and executives recover from burnout so they can feel energized, present, and actually enjoy the life they've worked so hard to build. And today, we're back with part 2 of topic 3 in the High Performer Reset series. In this episode, I'm walking you through my day-to-day and what it looks like now after doing the work. The shifts in my environment, my schedule, and the small daily practices that completely changed how I experience my life. And by the end of this episode, you're going to see what's actually possible for you without needing to blow up your entire life to get there. So stick around because we're answering the question, what does life actually look like on the other side of burnout? Okay, so if you guys listened to the previous episode where I talked about what my life was like, a day in my life when I was still burnt out. And at the beginning of that episode, I was like, I'm not a prepper. I just like to speak intuitively and talk about what comes into mind and trust that's all you guys need. Well, there's a few things I forgot to mention in that last episode. And the perfectionist in me wants to go back and re-record it, but I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that because it was 40 minutes. So I'm just going to talk about them a little bit today in part 2 of topic 3, which is like how my day-to-day life has changed before when I was burnt out versus now, okay? And so one thing I didn't mention in a previous episode is when I was at the peak of my burnout, I was living downtown in the city, okay? And I lived downtown by myself for years. And the reason I lived downtown is because I was stuck in fight or flight and I needed the noise and chaos around me. Like I used to say, I need the sirens to go to sleep. I need to hear people on the road. Like honestly, because I was living alone, maybe that brought me a little level of comfort too, but I needed the chaos around me so that I could feel like I could stay in that same fight or flight energy, right? Because I was living in that all day long. It's like I needed my home to have at least a little bit of a resonance of that, right? So I was living downtown Edmonton. Now, what's interesting is now I live out in the country. Okay, I live in a small rural community of like a couple hundred people. Now, that's because Thomas, my fiance, was already living out here. He grew up by water, and so he wanted to live by water again. So he moved out here a few years ago. And so when we met and started dating, I had this very rare opportunity to experience life in both places. I would stay at my place during the week. He'd come into the city and hang out with me at the condo, and then the weekends we'd come out to the lake. And I could feel the difference in my nervous system when I was in the city and when I was out here. And I got to a point where I was like, I can't do this anymore. Like when you're in the city, there's constant stimulation, cars, people, sirens, horns, buses, construction all the time. Where out here, you hear a few cars drive by, maybe that's it. Like it's so quiet. So when I could feel the difference, my nervous system started to be like, oh, we don't want to be in that anymore. Like go out to the beach, go out to where the peace and quiet is. And so naturally, as our relationship progressed, we had the choice. Like we could move to the city. He obviously would never do that because he moved out here for a reason. But I was like, let's do it. And life is completely different out here. Like if you would have told Mintu 5 years ago, she'd be living out in a rural community out by a lake with a few hundred people with one grocery store and one gas station, she would have been she would have lost her shit. Like ain't no way. I don't know who you're talking about. There's no way that's going to be me. But it's me. Here I am. Okay. And I actually have one other client who did the same thing when we were done our working together a few months later. He's like, I did something crazy. I was like, what? He's like, sold everything, moved out to an acreage. I was like, incredible. That's great. He's like, yeah. He's like, he's like, and he also switched jobs. He's like, I want to be at home with my wife and my son every night, you know, building memories. I don't want to be on the road all the time. I don't want to be stuck in traffic all the time. So he picked up and he moved. And it was like the best thing he could have done for him and his family. And I had another client ask, like, Mintu, why do you think we do that when we get older? Why do we want to be out in nature more? And I don't think it's just an older thing. I think it's just when your body starts to be more regulated and more relaxed, you realize you want to go back to nature because that's home. Like, humans are simple. Humans crave simplicity. Humans crave sunshine and fresh air and being connected to the ground because it's so grounding. That's what humans want when you give them enough space to actually feel that and breathe it. But when you're in the city and all these noises and busyness and things get like shoved down your throat, you don't even have capacity to remember that you like those things, right? And don't get me wrong, I miss quick access to this Mexican restaurant by my house. I miss quick access to sushi. I miss all of that. But the peace that I get out here is something else. Okay. And like, I know for a fact, I have a few friends who would never be able to survive out here because it's too quiet for them. And not because they don't enjoy nature, but because their nervous system hasn't slowed down enough to be able to sit at this pace. So that is one huge change in my overall environment, my overall day to day, is the fact that I went from busy downtown city to living out in the country. Now, let's talk about how my day to day has changed. First off, I will say this. I am self-employed now. I don't work for anybody. So obviously I have more freedom over my schedule. And I will say, if you would have given me this amount of freedom 5 years ago, I would have had a panic attack because I was still in extreme fight or flight, still in hardcore control freak mode, still a perfectionist. Like, even though I wanted this level of freedom, I wouldn't have known what to do with it. So it has had to been a gradual progress and lifestyle change to get here. But the beauty of being self-employed is, again, you get to have more control over your own schedule. There are a lot of other challenges being self-employed. I don't think it's for everyone because it will expose every wound that you've ever had, every inadequate feeling you've ever had, and force you to face it if you're self-employed. Okay, it's just like being in a relationship, but now that I have more freedom to build my schedule. So, starting with the mornings, I don't have an alarm clock. Unless I have like a really important event or I got to the airport or something, I don't set an alarm and I let myself wake up when my body wants to wake up. Okay. So now I wake up when I'm rested and my body naturally gets up around 7 or 8 o'clock. Lately, it's been about 8 o'clock if I'm being honest, but I don't start my work or clients till 9. So I'm able to get up when my body actually feels rested. Okay. I don't have a phone in the bedroom. The phone stays in the living room. So when I wake up, I'm not waking up and turning towards my phone and checking emails. I'm allowing myself to get up naturally because I feel rested. Give Thomas a nice hug and a kiss, get up, brush my teeth. I still play with the brush the teeth before or after breakfast thing. Like, I go back and forth. But then I get up and I don't check emails or social medias because social media for me is work essentially because I'm posting content. I don't check that for at least half an hour. I just have time. I might do like a little meditation or a little self-reflection work in the morning. So I will sometimes open my computer up for that to access that stuff, but not to look at any work things. But my point is, my day starts off with intention of prioritizing Mintu first. I spent years giving myself to the world first before I even got out of bed. I don't do that anymore. I am the priority. Right? Like, the time for me, the intention for me, that comes first and foremost. So before I give my energy to anyone else, except for my fiance or my dog, I give it to me. So again, I don't check anything or give any energy to anyone else for at least 30 minutes. And then from there, I have breakfast first thing in the morning now. I don't wait till 1 or 2 o'clock when I'm hangry. I support my body first thing. So I have a nice drink of water, usually has electrolytes in it or some salt to actually replenish my minerals. And then I have a protein heavy breakfast, which I talked about in the previous episodes with my relationship with food to make sure I'm satiated and I'm not going to have any crashes during the day. But I make sure that my body feels genuinely as supported as it can in the morning before it starts work. So that means proper sleep, proper hydration, proper nourishment, some love from my dog and my hubby. And then a little bit of me time, whether that's, again, a little bit of self-reflection, a little meditation. And it doesn't have to be long, guys. Like, I'm not a 2-hour morning routine people like some people talk about. I need 10 minutes of a meditation or 10 minutes of like a guided something intentional to set my day. You know what I mean? I need 10 minutes of that and that's all I really need. But just something that's, again, setting the tone for the day. 30 to 40 minutes is usually good enough for me. And then by 9 o'clock, I'm either into a first session or into LinkedIn and posting content and all those things. Okay, if you're an executive who's craving more clarity, happiness, and a sense of real inner peace in your day to day, make sure you hit follow so you never miss an episode. This show is here to help you lead, succeed, and actually feel good while doing it. And if something resonates today, give it a like and share it with someone else who could use a little bit more calm in their life too. So, again, being able to control my own schedule is really helpful there. But the other thing I will say that I do throughout my day now is I underschedule versus overschedule myself. Okay. I used to live with a full calendar and I thought that made me better. It did not. It burnt me out. So now what I do is I underschedule myself. So if I know that my kind of like max capacity is about, let's say 5 to 6 meetings in a day. Okay. And not all my days are like that, but I know that's my kind of cap. I usually keep my day, I try to keep it to about 4 then, okay? And the reason for that is if I know I keep my cap at about 4, that gives me enough space in my calendar to keep the pacing supportive to my nervous system, which means if I have that extra time, if anything runs over, it's not going to ruin my day because I have extra space already accounted for and extra time already accounted for. And B, if I decide to work a little longer at something, again, I already have the space accounted for. Okay. So it's not like, oh, I'm in the middle of this and I don't want to stop. It's like, oh, well, you can either come back to it because you have a break in an hour or you have a little bit more time now, or it just makes my day flow better. It makes me more productive. It allows me to get my best work out because I'm not constantly pushing out of dysregulation. I'm it's like staying in this place of regulation, but still kind of hitting my capacity. Okay. Like I'm able to do high quality work because I'm not pushed over the edge now where I'm in scarcity mode and survival mode and I'm not thinking straight. Okay. So I underschedule versus overschedule myself. I give myself lots of room to breathe, but still be productive. Now, I also go to the gym. So I usually go to the gym around 11 or 12 o'clock, like midday is key for me. It breaks up my morning and my afternoon for me. Again, I have the flexibility to do that. But I used to try working out in the mornings. I don't think working out in the evenings is good for me either. So I just book it into the middle of my day. And again, so sometimes that my day extends a little bit later than because of it. But that breakup in the middle of the day allows me to kind of get a refuel and get refocused and recalibrated for whatever the next part of the day looks like. So I just get it done then and I don't overthink it. I don't think, oh, I should be working instead. Sometimes I think that, not too often. Sometimes I do think that. But I make sure to build that into the middle of the day. And then the other thing I do is I make sure to regulate at least 5 times throughout the day. Okay. I just started working with a new nervous system coach. She is incredible, Sarah Baldwin. And she talks about how consistency is so important. She's like, they don't need to be five 1 hour breaks. She's like, 5 minutes is most important. Consistency is most important. So what I do is I know there's a handful of things that always help me feel better. Going for a walk, feeling the sun on my face, playing with Oscar, my pup, a hug or some connection from Thomas, and then sometimes some music or just like something kind of dancey. I guess you dance to music, but just some type of like fun little movement. Those things are really supportive to me. So I just try to make sure I hit those points throughout the day. So for me, again, another benefit. Most time the benefit is Thomas and I both work from home. He's not always in the house, but a lot of the time we are. So when I have a moment, I make sure to hug him. And I make sure to get up and walk around. Like for instance, once I'm done recording this, I will get up and I will go move around and I will go upstairs and I will go hug him before he leaves because we're going to 2 different places after this. But so I make sure I build that into my day because for me, that's regulating. That keeps me in the present moment. That keeps me out of fight or flight. Okay. So while my work might be activating a little bit more, I make sure to build in those things that keep me grounded as best as I can. And I still have moments of dysregulation. You're supposed to. You're not supposed to be calm all day long. But you know when you're hitting that point of like just on the brink of like now you're starting to get short, now you're starting to get frustrated. And I still have those days. Okay. That like my nervous system is probably a little bit more anxious than a lot of people's. I used to live with that low grade anxiety that we talked about in the last episode. I would say probably 80 to 90% of my life. Now I would say we're probably closer to about 30 to 40%. So it's a lot lower, a lot more manageable, and a lot slower or smaller doses when it comes into play. So I'm able just to move on from things a lot faster and not harbor things like I used to. Um, and just, yeah, be able to let go, move on, see the positive in things a lot sooner than I used to. I'm not a big fan of delusional positivity. I don't think that's healthy for anybody. But I'm able to see through what's happening and be able to accept things and just move on a lot faster. But I think a big part of that is because I build in those points of regulation throughout my day. 5 minutes, 5 times. And, Sarah says that, like, she says, even if it just brings you 5% or 10% more to regulation, that's all you need. You don't have to all of a sudden regulate and then you're like a monk sitting on a meditation pill. Like, she's like, you just want to take the edge off by about 10%. And if you can do that, then you've succeeded with your regulation practice. So I make sure to build those in throughout my day, to keep it flowing, to keep me in a state where I can show up as the best possible version of Mintu for my clients and people I'm working with. And, with my line of work now is I have to be embodied. I have to be present. I have to be here because otherwise I can't get my clients the results that I'm getting them, right? It takes me to be in this state. They're coming to me for co-regulation. They're coming to me for support. So I have to, not from a place of control, but like it's my it's my role in these exchanges to show up and be that person for them and show them what's possible. So it's such a gift that I get to be able to do these things because I can show them what's possible on the other side of this journey when you really stick to it, right? So regulation is a huge part of my day. And I know if I start to get hyperfixated, if I start to get short, if I start to overthink a lot of things or become like neurotic about some things, that's my cue that I need to go like, pause. You're not showing up as your best self right now. You're not even productive right now. Like, go take a hike. Like, quite literally, go take a hike. Okay. Because I've just become so much more in tune with my nervous system. I know how to work with it versus against it. And that makes all the difference in how productive I am and the quality of my work and also the level of enjoyment I have for my work. I love what I do now, but I know that if I built this business the way I did before, I would eventually end up burnt out and resentful as well. I eventually would shut it down. I just know because it's not the work or the business itself. It's the unhealthy, the, the non-nourishing patterns of productivity, non-supportive patterns of productivity that aren't sustainable long-term that got me to that point last time. And so I knew if I didn't correct them now, I would just be on the same path as I was. So these things line me up to make sure that I can carry on this business as long as possible and build this business and help as many people as possible because I'm doing it from a place of capacity, not just capability. Before I was relying only on capability. Now I actually have capacity. One of the biggest struggles for high achievers is they can't tell whether they're burnt out or just overly tired. That's why I created the High Performer Stress Assessment, which will assess exactly what your mind and body are struggling with and what you need to start feeling more balanced, grounded, and happy ASAP. It only takes 2 minutes to complete, and you can find the link in the show notes below. So as far as my work, that's how I do things. And the other reason it's so important is because a big part of my job right now is content creation. That's how I reach all you beautiful folks. And when you're creating, you need energy in the tank. You need a full gas tank in order to do that. So making sure that I have that, making sure that I have a full tank as much as I can, and not every day is perfect, sets me up for success. And sets me up for success in a way where I can actually reach you guys in a way that resonates with you. Now, the other part of that is like, on top of living out in the country and, just kind of how I set up my workday, I usually don't have a client later or a meeting any later than like at the latest 8:00. And that's maybe 1 or 2 nights a week. But there is the odd time I will have a later meeting just to adjust for time zones and people's schedules. But so Thomas and I have dinner together every single night. Then we usually watch a show or something of that sort. And then after that, we get ready for bed. Now, I'm usually in bed between 10 and 10:30, 11 at the latest if Thomas really wants me to stay up with him, but it doesn't happen often. But one thing that's really important is what I consume before bed, okay? So, I explained in the last episode that I used to live for like crime shows and gangster shows, and I love that. And I still like those things. But now I know how it affects my sleep. So, for instance, we just started watching Peaky Blinders. I've never watched before. It's a great Irish gangster movie placed back like in around like between the world wars. It's a great, great series. And so what we were doing was we'd watch Peaky Blinders one episode before bed, and then we'd watch Love on the Spectrum after, right before bed. And if you haven't watched Love on the Spectrum, that is the best show on TV. It will absolutely warm your heart to the core and restore your faith in humanity, okay? But so we'd watch one episode of Peaky Blinders, gangsters, then we'd go to Love on the Spectrum, sweet, sweet people falling in love. And then I'd go to sleep. Well, the other night, we watched the last Peaky Blinders because they just came out with a movie. And Love on the Spectrum was already done. We finished the series. So for some reason that night, we just decided to go to bed. And guess who had a terrible sleep? This girl. Okay? Because I watched that movie right before I went to sleep. I was dreaming of Peaky Blinders all night. It was like I was in the movie, okay? And what happens is right before you go to sleep and when you wake up in the morning, your brainwaves slow down. So they're highly impressionable. So whatever you take in before bed and first thing in the morning, that's why you don't want your phone beside your bed, hits your brain on a completely deeper level. So it's like watching a horror movie at noon doesn't do much. You know, it's a horror movie and it is what it is. Watching a horror movie before bed, your body's going to think you're in the horror movie. That's the difference between when you expose something to your brain. Okay. So again, that's why I don't keep a phone in the bedroom anymore, is because of that. So now when I remember, I don't watch anything that will keep me in fight or flight before I go to bed. I watch something that's supportive to my nervous system that allows it to come down. And then what that does is it sets me up for a better sleep. So now I'm sleeping about 8 or 9 hours a night. I wake up without an alarm. I'm sleeping throughout the night. I will have some nights where I have broken sleep. That usually just typically happens at certain times of the month for me based on my cycle. But if I've had a really stressful day, sometimes I will carry it home if I don't have the right practices. Something else that helps me to make sure I have good night's sleep is doing a little bit of movement before bed. Typically for me, that's just a nice little stretch. 5 minutes of it again, something regulating. And that stretch just kind of dispels the remaining stuck energy out of my body for the day, which sets me up for a good night's sleep. And I wake up so rested. And the other beautiful thing about living out in the country now is it's so quiet. The stars are so much brighter. So like when you go to sleep, there's not like a buzzing or a siren or a hum always in the background. It's just pure stillness. And it's a little bit colder. It's just some of the best sleeps I've ever had in my adult life have been out here. And then that's part of it, is just being able to like allow my nervous system to settle. Another way my day-to-day life has changed, but has shown up in big ways, is I'm just so much more adventurous and fun. I want to try new things. I'm not scared about how I look or if I'm going to be good at something. And like for instance, we just took a month off and went and traveled to Vietnam for a whole month. Like, first off, the old me wouldn't have been able to get that time off of work. But aside from that, even old Mintu, if I could control my schedule, she'd be like, that's too much time away from the business. You need to build it. Who do you think you are taking a month off? I was like, let's go. Like, we have this freedom. Like, why aren't we exploring it? And so then in Vietnam, I remember we were walking and there was this like archery set outside, this like play archery set. And Thomas like, oh, you think you can shoot? And I'm like, I don't know, I'll try. Like I shot a bow and arrow, I think in high school in phys ed class. And I haven't since then. So I picked it up and I tried and we played around and we had fun. And then he looked at me after we finished laughing. He's like, you're so fun. And I was like, what? He's like, you're so fun. And it stopped me dead in my tracks because I was like, man, I haven't been fun for a long time. And again, the main reason is because I was just like stuck being like a hyper productive all the time, and everything's got to be productive and everything's got to be serious and everything's about doing this and that. And I was just so stuck in my own ways that I couldn't even let fun into my life, And even another thing it made me think of is like, when we first started dating, Thomas is a backcountry skier, and he even is certified to teach disabled people how to ski. Like, he's incredible. And he was explaining how he loves skiing so much. And I was like, never happening. I'm not going. He's like, why? I'm like, well, I haven't gone since high school, and it was hard for me then. I'm like, I'm not going. And I just shut it down right away. And then I reflected on it, and it was because old Mintu didn't like to do anything she wasn't good at because she didn't have the capacity. And so then I realized that, and I explained it to him, and I was like, you know what? I'm sorry. I know it's really important to you. Let's go. And now I love skiing. It is so fun. And I don't care that I'm bad at it. I don't care that I'm 37 years old, like pretty much learning how to ski again. Like, I don't care because it's fun. And I actually have space in my life now to have fun. I was missing that for so long because I was so inundated with stress that I didn't know how to release, that I couldn't make space in my life for the things that actually brought me joy. I just went traveling for an entire month. I took an entire month off and lived my life and took my fiance to my home country. And 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 now my life just revolves around, like, how can I bring more of that in? Like, yes, work needs to be done. Yes, I'm still committed to building my business, like all those things. High achieving Minju hasn't gone away, but the strategy to how I do it has changed. And I know for a fact, if I'm not having fun, if I'm not loose and feeling a little relaxed, that my business is going to be stagnant. My business will be affected because of it. My clients will feel it. My content will have that energy, which means you guys won't resonate as much with it. I know for a fact that will happen. If you're a high achiever, you probably feel the exhaustion that comes with always pushing and carrying the load. And here's the honest truth. Burnout doesn't fix itself by working harder or pushing more. You're not meant to just survive your success. You're someone who leads with impact and depth and intention, and you deserve to feel calm and connected while doing it. So imagine showing up present for your work and your personal relationships, feeling calm and grounded instead of constantly stretched. If that's what you want, this is exactly what we do in the Higher Alignment program. Book your assessment call through the link in the show notes, and let's get you back to balance and back to feeling like yourself again. So for me now, when I start to feel myself get into that old space for too long, I have to time out, I have to step away, I have to regulate, and I have to bring that fun back into my life, that regulation, that present moment. And for the record, when you're starting this process, what I'm talking about might be too much, like traveling for a month, or, sometimes we'll pick up in the middle of the week and just go skiing for 2 days. Like, that might be too much, okay? But when you're first starting, if you're trying to figure out this new strategy for you and what your body needs for support, I tell my clients it's always one of 5 things. Either you need to go to the bathroom, you need to eat or drink something, you need some sleep, you need a hug, or you need to go have fun. One of those 5 things will usually take the edge off whatever you're feeling, and those have to become the remedy for your strategy, those have to become the strategy for what you need in the moment. Those are your remedy, not pushing harder and working more and staying longer hours. That's not the answer. The answer is one of your 5 basic needs, and once you do that, then the answer of what you really need will show up. And maybe it will be to work a little bit more, or maybe it will be to step away and come back and create something better tomorrow. Okay? All I know is since I've started doing this work and I've made these adjustments, my life has become way more free. I feel happier. I feel more content. I feel like I have better skills to navigate the hard times. I feel like I have more trust in the universe and God and what it's bringing me. I feel more connected to my loved ones, to my dog, to my family. I have way better relationships with my family, with my friends. I'm just a better human now. And not because I was a bad one before, but because I didn't even have the capacity to be the real me. And since I've done this work and I've let these walls down and I've really changed this way of living, which wasn't hard, by the way. Like, this took me years to figure out. I teach people how to do it in 90 days or less. All it takes is a decision that you want to change, some daily practices, and leaning in for a few months. If you can do that with me, I promise we can get you to this part as well. But success doesn't have to be that hard. Being productive doesn't have to be that hard. And if you're still sitting here telling yourself this is just the way I am, sorry, hun, that's not the truth. These are learned behaviors. I was also that same way, and I still have them in me. Don't get me wrong. I'm not completely healed from all of it. I still have those tendencies. But as I said, that used to be 80 to 90% of my life. Now it's like 30 to 40. My anxiety and my overwhelm isn't in the driver's seat anymore. Now the driver's seat is like, how happy do I feel in my life? And happy is a fleeting feeling. You're not going to feel happy all the time, but how more at peace do I feel? How more fulfilled am I? How much more just connected and loved and supported do I feel? All this comes is just from a little lifestyle change of how you support and show up for yourself. And when I say lifestyle, that sounds like a lot. It's not. It's some minor adjustments throughout the day of just teaching your nervous system how to process stress in a different way, how to still deal with high levels of stress like you are, but release it in a way that's healthy. So again, you can make more space for the things that actually make you feel fulfilled and make you feel loved and happy and free. Right? So if you're questioning whether it's possible for you, look at me. I was the poster child of burnout. I was the poster child of a high achieving woman who thought productivity and success was everything. And I worked my ass off to have it and then woke up one day and asked, is this it? And so I made a decision. I committed to the work, and now I'm living a life that is way more free, something I couldn't have imagined. Again, if you told me 5 years ago, that girl would have had a panic attack the way I'm living life now. And it's just, now I feel like I'm actually living my life. I'm not just showing up in my life. I'm actually living it. I'm here. I'm present with all of you. So if you've been sitting on the fence for a while thinking, is this possible for me? I promise it is. Again, you just got to make a decision that you want it. And then you need the right strategy. And you need someone that can take you through the journey. Because if you don't have that, it's not that you can't do it. It's just going to take a lot longer. And I know you, my friends, I know you guys want results. That's why you're here.